Stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could be the single most important health decision you make this decade. Most people over 50 are unknowingly doing something every single day that is quietly switching off their body's most powerful cancer defense system, and the fix costs absolutely nothing. My name is Dr. Alan Mandell, and after 27 years as an oncologist and cancer prevention researcher, I have spent my career studying one question above all others. Why do some people develop cancer after 50, while others, living in the same neighborhoods, eating similar diets, simply don't? What I found has fundamentally transformed how I counsel every patient who walks through my clinic doors. In 2022, researchers at Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health published a landmark study in JAMA Oncology following over 135,000 adults across 2 full decades. Their conclusion was staggering. People who consistently practice a specific cluster of daily lifestyle habits reduce their overall cancer risk by up to 61% compared to those who did not. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between a cancer diagnosis and a clean bill of health for hundreds of thousands of real people. And before we dive in, I want to hear from you right now. Drop your age in the comments below, just your age, or tell me your biggest health concern after 50. I read every single comment personally, and knowing who is watching helps me create content that truly serves you. Now I am going to walk you through the 5 most powerful cancer prevention habits available to adults over 50, ranked from foundational all the way to life-altering, and I promise you, by the time we reach number 1, the habit I would choose above all others, if I could only give every patient on earth a single recommendation, you will understand not just what to do, but exactly why it works inside your body at the cellular level. Starting with habit number 5. Here is something that most people have never had explained to them properly, and once you understand it, you will never look at a bag of chips the same way again. Every single cell in your body is constantly replicating, dividing, and replacing itself. In a healthy body, a process called DNA mismatch repair acts like a proofreader, catching errors in your genetic code before they become mutations, and before mutations become tumors. Here is the critical problem. After age 50, the efficiency of your DNA repair enzymes naturally declines by roughly 30 to 40%. Your body becomes a less reliable proofreader at precisely the moment when decades of cellular wear have accumulated the most errors. Ultra-processed foods, think packaged snacks, fast food, processed deli meats, and sugar-sweetened beverages, accelerate this breakdown dramatically by flooding your cells with compounds called advanced glycation end products, which directly impair those already struggling repair enzymes. A 2023 study from Imperial College London, published in the European Journal of Nutrition, followed 197,000 adults and found that those whose diets were highest in ultra-processed foods had a 32% higher risk of colorectal cancer and a 19% higher risk of breast cancer. The food itself, not just the weight it causes you to gain, is the mechanism of harm. I had a patient, Sandra, 58 years old, an administrator from the Bay Area, who came to me after her sister was diagnosed with colon cancer. Sandra's diet was what she called typical: cereal in the morning, a deli sandwich at lunch, packaged crackers for a snack. Her inflammatory markers were significantly elevated. Over 12 months, Sandra replaced her ultra-processed staples with whole food alternatives: oats, legumes, vegetables, and olive oil, without any other intervention. Her inflammatory protein levels dropped by 44%, and her follow-up colonoscopy showed a reversal of the low-grade inflammation her gastroenterologist had flagged previously. For you, the starting point is one concrete shift. Replace one ultra-processed item in each meal with a whole food equivalent. Morning cereal becomes oatmeal with berries. The packaged snack bar becomes an apple with a handful of walnuts. These are not deprivation choices, they are cellular protection choices. And when you combine this with habit number 4, the reduction in systemic inflammation becomes compounded in ways that research shows are far greater than either habit produces alone. Habit number 4. When most people think about sleep, they think about feeling rested. When I think about sleep as an oncologist, I think about something called immunosurveillance, and it is one of the most extraordinary cancer-fighting mechanisms your body possesses. Your immune system contains specialized cells called natural killer cells, whose job is to patrol your bloodstream and tissues, identifying and destroying early-stage cancer cells before they can establish themselves. Think of them as your body's internal security force, running silent patrols every single night. Here is what almost no one knows. Natural killer cell activity is almost entirely regulated by your sleep cycles, specifically the deep slow-wave sleep stages that dominate the early part of your night. After age 60, the proportion of slow-wave sleep your body naturally generates drops by approximately 50%, meaning your cancer surveillance system is running at half capacity unless you actively protect it. A 2019 study from the University of Chicago, published in the Journal of Experimental Medicine, showed that just 1 week of sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night reduced natural killer cell activity by 70% in healthy adults. My patient Robert, 63, a retired engineer who prided himself on functioning well on 5 to 6 hours of sleep, came to me following a precancerous polyp finding. Robert was not obese. He didn't smoke, he exercised regularly, but his sleep was fractured and short. We implemented a strict sleep protocol, a consistent 10:30 p.m. bedtime, complete darkness after 9 p.m., a bedroom temperature of 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and a magnesium glycinate supplement to support deep sleep. Within 8 weeks, his deep sleep had doubled, and his natural killer cell count, measured through follow-up blood work, had increased by 38%. For you, the most powerful starting point is what sleep researchers call anchor sleep. Commit to the same wake time every single morning, even on weekends, because your wake time anchors your circadian rhythm far more powerfully than your bedtime. Set that alarm, keep it. Even 1 week of consistent wake timing measurably improves sleep architecture in adults over 50. Now, if this information is valuable to you, I need to pause for just a moment and ask you to please hit the like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone over 50 who you love. This research takes months to compile, and your support allows me to keep making it freely available to everyone who needs it. Habit number 3. I want to reframe something for you, because the word exercise carries a sense of obligation that causes most adults over 50 to immediately tune out. What I am describing is not exercise in the way you are thinking of it. What I am talking about is purposeful daily movement, and its effects on cancer biology are so specific and so profound that I believe they deserve far more attention than they currently receive. At the heart of this habit is a molecule called insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1. Think of IGF-1 like a fertilizer signal. In youth, it drives healthy development, but after 50, chronically elevated IGF-1 levels, driven directly by sedentary behavior, act as fertilizer for cancer cells, accelerating their growth and division. Regular moderate movement is one of the only lifestyle interventions proven to lower baseline IGF-1 levels, while simultaneously activating a tumor-suppressing protein called p53, which functions as your cell's most powerful internal stop signal against malignant growth. A 2020 study from the American Cancer Society, published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, tracked 186,000 adults for 10 years and found that those who engaged in at least 150 minutes of moderate movement per week had a 42% lower risk of colon cancer and a 38% lower risk of breast cancer recurrence. My patient Eleanor, 71, came to me 2 years after a stage 1 breast cancer diagnosis, terrified of recurrence and unable to run or do traditional gym workouts due to arthritis. We built her a protocol around what she could do: 20 minutes of brisk walking after breakfast and 5-minute movement breaks every hour. At her 12-month follow-up, her IGF-1 levels had dropped by 23%, and her oncologist noted significantly improved immune cell counts. For you, start with a 20-minute walk after your largest meal of the day. Research from Stanford confirms that post-meal walking specifically suppresses the glucose spikes that independently fuel cancer cell metabolism by up to 33%. You need your own front door and a consistent commitment, nothing more. Habit number 2. I know exactly what you are thinking. Stress management sounds soft. It sounds like a wellness buzzword, not a clinical intervention. I want to tell you precisely why that perception is dangerously wrong, and why after 27 years in oncology, I now consider chronic psychological stress to be one of the most under-discussed drivers of cancer after age 50. The mechanism is a molecule called cortisol, your primary stress hormone. When cortisol is chronically elevated, as it is in people experiencing persistent stress, anxiety, grief, or loneliness, it triggers a cascade with direct cancer relevance. Cortisol suppresses the expression of BRCA1 and BRCA2, your two most critical DNA damage repair genes. In plain terms, chronic stress tells your body to keep damaged cells alive rather than eliminating them, which is the biological foundation of cancer development. A 2022 study from Ohio State University's Comprehensive Cancer Center found that chronic psychological stress reduced the immune cells responsible for attacking cancer by 48% in adults over 60. My patient David, 66, a recently retired executive who described himself as finally relaxing, had blood work that told a completely different story. His cortisol rhythm was inverted, elevated at night when it should be near zero. We implemented 12 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing each morning, a 15-minute evening walk with no phone, and weekly dinner with close friends. At 6 months, his cortisol rhythm had normalized and his immune markers had improved measurably across the board. For you, the minimum effective dose is documented clearly. Just 12 minutes of daily mindful breathing, practiced consistently for 8 weeks, reduces cortisol levels by 26% and measurably improves natural killer cell counts in adults over 55. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7, release for 8. That is your starting point today. And now, habit number 1. The single intervention I would choose above everything else on this list, the one that ties every mechanism we have discussed into one unified biological protocol, and I promise you, it is simpler than anything you are imagining right now. The mechanism is a cellular process called autophagy, from the Greek meaning self-eating. When your body enters a fasted state, typically between 13 and 16 hours after your last meal, your cells begin to identify, dismantle, and recycle damaged components, including premalignant cells, misfolded proteins, and defective mitochondria. Think of autophagy like your body's overnight deep cleaning crew. Every night, if given enough time without food coming in, they move through every room, sweeping out cellular debris that would otherwise accumulate into something dangerous. After age 50, autophagy efficiency declines by an estimated 40 to 50%, largely because modern eating patterns, with food available from early morning to late at night, mean most adults never stay in a fasted state long enough to trigger this cleanup cycle. When damaged cells accumulate unchecked, that accumulation becomes the biological foundation of cancer. A landmark 2022 clinical trial from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, followed 218 adults aged 55 to 70 and found that those practicing a consistent 14-hour fast and 10-hour eating window showed a 37% reduction in markers of oxidative DNA damage and a 41% improvement in tumor suppressor gene expression compared to control, groups with no caloric restriction required whatsoever. My patient Michael, 61, a school teacher from Ohio, came to me with a history of precancerous colonic polyps, a family history of pancreatic cancer, and a fasting glucose sitting at the high end of the prediabetic range. Michael was not overweight, but his eating window stretched 16 hours a day, coffee at 6 a.m. and a late snack at 10 o'clock p. We implemented a simple protocol: first meal at 8 a.m., last bite of food by 6 p.m., with water and black coffee freely allowed throughout the fasting window. Within 90 days, his fasting glucose had dropped from 108 to 91. Within 12 months, his follow-up colonoscopy showed complete resolution of the low-grade cellular changes his gastroenterologist had flagged in his previous 2 scopes, a finding his doctor described as unusual and remarkable. For you, the implementation is this: establish a consistent eating window of 10 to 12 hours and protect it every single day. If your first coffee with cream is at 7 a.m., your kitchen closes at 7 p.m. Nothing but water, plain black coffee, or unsweetened tea outside that window. Your body does everything else. Now let me bring this all home for you, because I need you to hear something directly from me as your physician in this moment. You did not watch this video by accident. Something in you already knows that the choices you make in these years determine the quality of every year that follows. The research I have shared today does not come from studies of 30-year-olds with perfect genetics. It comes from people exactly like you, adults in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, who made targeted changes and produced real, documented, measurable biological improvements. Your cells are not fixed. Your risk is not sealed. Your independence, your energy, your ability to be present for the people who need you most, none of that is beyond your reach. Every morning you wake up is another opportunity to shift the conditions inside your body in your favor. It is never too late, and the simplest habits begun today can produce changes that will still be protecting you a decade from now. All scientific references mentioned in today's video are linked in the description below. Please hit the like button if this gave you something valuable, subscribe so you never miss what is coming next, and share this with one person over 50 who deserves to know this information. Now tell me in the comments, which of these 5 habits are you starting this week, and what is the biggest obstacle standing between you and that first step? I genuinely want to know, and I will be reading every single response. Take care of yourself because you absolutely can.